Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of A Couple of Switch, where we're finally doing the how to play and combo Anubismon. And the reason why we're returning back to Anubismon is the fact that the first video I made of him on the channel, link in the description, I think I did a very good job of showing the climax of the deck's game plan, but I never go into detail how we actually get to that point. Because here today I want to prove that Anubismon is going to be literally the best budget deck you can build in BT13. Like, I playtest this quite much lately. I played against Shad, Security Control, Imperial, D-Brigade, and it does surprisingly well. But the best part of the deck, in my opinion, is the fact that it's so fun to play. There's almost an infinite amount of micro decisions and lines you can go in pretty much all of the games you play with this deck. So essentially I'm going to show you a couple of scenarios, how you reach lethal with Anubismon. But hey, let's get this started and draw some cards. We're on the play. We're going to hatch a Demi-Merman, evolving him into a very nice Taper Boy for 0, draw. Then let's just hard play an Icemon Scatter Mode for 4 cost. And yeah, in my opinion, just hard dropping an Icemon Scatter Mode turn 1 is not a bad play. What we need to do in this deck is draw cards, and a lot of them, and very fast. And getting out the Scatter Boy on turn 1, meaning that even if they have some kind of interaction to remove him, we don't care, because we want him to die. Either we have a body that can hit our opponent's security, or they remove it and we get the card draw that we want. And let's just say the opponent is not a silly goose, they will put us at 1, as they should do here. We'll draw for turn. We'll promote the Tapir. And before we do anything, let's hard play Gizmon AT for his alternative when you would play this card effect. By deleting one of your level 3 Digimon, reduce the play cost by 4. So we'll be deleting the Tapir to make him cost only 2, triggering Tapir's on deletion effect. Draw 1. Demi-Merman, draw 1. Trash 1. We'll trash Underworld's card. When Underworld's card would be discarded from our hand, we can trigger draw 1. Then to trigger Gizmon AT's on play effect, draw 2. Trash 2. We'll trash Proto Gizmon and Nidhogg. When Nidhogg would be discarded from our hand, we can gain 1 memory. Going back to 0, keeping our turn. Now the reason why we didn't hit with Tapir into our opponent's security is that we really do not care about doing small amounts of damage to our opponent. In the beginning of the game, all of the focus should be on just doing as many draw and discard effects as possible. Because once we get into actually doing the combo with the Anubismon, as you could see in our first combo video, link in the description, watch that please before watching this, we can do a sick amount of damage. So also getting out the AT here for only 2 cost, triggering all of the Tapir's effect, is incredibly good. Also it sets up our next play perfectly, because we're going to hit Icemon into our opponent's security for the first damage this game. The Icemon has yamming. Of course it does. Of course it does. So he won't die. Much to our opponent's happiness. They know how valuable his death is to us. But just as I said, this will set our next play up perfectly, because we have an out this situation, which is incredibly beneficial to us. And it's the fact that we can play out the Gizmon XT for it. When you would play this card effect, by deleting one of your level 4 Digimon, reduce the play cost by 6. Now, even if the Icemon would have died and we would have gotten the value out of it, we could have deleted the AT instead to play out the XT. Because he's a 9k blocker. Getting a 9k blocker out this early in the game is really good, because that will make it so that, you know, they won't poke us as much. But in this scenario, since Icemon did have the jamming, we'll delete him for the free cost instead. Triggering Icemon Scatter Mode's on deletion effect, will draw 3. Discarding 2, Proto, and Icemon. Effect, when you would discard Icemon from your hand and you have a scatter mode in your trash, you can play him out for free. Now keep in mind, this is our second turn, so this is quite high rolly. But most of the time you would actually prefer to keep the one-off Icemon in your hand for the Anubismon combo, since when you do discard cards while Anubismon is out, the Icemon will have Rush, so you can immediately hit into your opponent's security. But in this instant, considering what cards we have on hand, we can do some incredible tempo play next round. Though, I want you to keep in mind the fact that we actually did draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards this round while building this kind of board states. That is pretty insane. But now, let's not sit here and pretend that our opponent is not going to try to interact with our board. So let's say that our opponent evolves into their big bad on their turn, and then just absolutely smashes into our security. So we decide, okay, we'll block with the XT. And we can actually do a pretty neat trick, in my opinion here, is that on deletion, we can just simply play out the Protogisamon, while the AT and Protogisamon effect forces you to actually bottom deck pieces from the trash to play out the other one for free. This one simply states that you can just play out the rookie at no condition. So what we'll do is that we'll put him here to play him out here, triggering his own play effect, draw 1, discard 1, so we'll discard Nidhogg to gain a memory, ending our opponent's turn. And yes, I've done this. And I actually managed to do this with an AT once, discarding 2 Nidhoggmons to gain 2 memory. At any point, your opponent decides if they want to like attack your security or delete one of your Gisumons, they always have to think about the fact that you could either, you discard cards that draw you cards, discard the Icemon that plays him out, and pretty much give them on deletion gain memory with the Nidhogg. So if Anubismon is your opponent, it's always scary to delete their Digimon, because they get so much value out of them actually dying. So let's draw for turn. We'll hatch a Demimeramon. We'll evolve Demimeramon into Ignitemon for 0, draw. And by this point I see no reason for us not to choose violence, so we'll decide to swing with the AT into our opponent's security. And look at that, the boy dies, thankfully. So we'll trigger his effect. We'll put him and Protogisamon at the bottom of our deck. 2. Play out XT for free. We'll swing with the Proto into our opponent's security, and he dies. Then let's evolve Icemon into Blue Marimon for free, putting our opponent to 2. Drunk Evolution. Effect, draw 2. Discard 2, AT, and Underworld's Call. Effect, draw 1. Now, as long as our opponent doesn't interact with this blue Marimon here, they are dead. Draw for turn. We'll promote the Ignitemon. And here comes the boy, Anubismon for free, going to 2, draw. Doing his effect, we can resurrect a level 3 Digimon card from our trash without paying its memory cost. We'll choose the Protogisamon. Triggering Blue Marimon, since we play a Digimon with an effect, we'll gain 1 memory. Protogisamon effect, we'll draw 1. We'll discard 1. And yes, we'll discard yet another copy of Nidhoggmon to gain 1 memory, going back to 0. And that is one of the changes I actually made to this deck, and that is putting that boy to a playset. Because you need that instantaneous memory gain. Our opponent only has 2 securities left, and we currently got 1, 2, 3, 4 attacks on the field. But just for the sake of it, let's see how much damage we can actually do here. So the best play would be to hit with the Protogisamon first. Let's say the boy dies. And now, when we hit with the XT into our opponent's security, and he doesn't die, we actually have a great out to this. Because when we hit with the Ignitemon, we'll trigger his when attacking effect. We can delete one of our other Digimons to delete one of our opponent's unsuspended Digimon with the same level. So we'll delete the XT. On deletion of XT, we can play out the Protogisamon. Triggering his own play effect, we'll draw 1. Trash 1. We'll trash another AT. Ignitemon dies into the security. And because of Anubismon, Protogismon has Rush. So we'll swing in. And if he were to die, we can put these two boys to the bottom. To play out the AT. On play. Draw 2. Discard 2. Ginkgo. And XT. Because of Anubismon, AT has Rush. And let's say he hits for game. And now I would like to take a moment just to say that obviously we high rolled that game. We didn't need to use any kill spells to actually kill our own Digimon, which would have passed turn to our opponent. Because most of the time, when you want your Digimons to die in your opponent's security, they are not going to. And especially in this deck, that's super important, because that's how we do our damage. When they die, we bring out a new thing that we can immediately swing with. So let's take a moment and actually talk about all of the kill spells that we use in this deck. As I demonstrated, we play the Ignitemon. Not only is he inheritable all turns once per turn, when you play a Digimon by an effect, gain a memory, which means that you will gain memory from Anubismon when Digivolving effect. But the fact that you can actually swing with the Ignitemon to proc one of the Gizmons on deletion effect is incredibly important. So let's say the board state does look like this. That means that when we evolve into the Anubismon, we can actually just play out the Ignitemon immediately. He gains Rush because of Anubismon, so he swings, he survives, then we can just immediately swing, deleting him, to bring out the XT. And this will come up, so keep in mind that you can actually do this. But other than that, we play Deathclaw, Demonic Disaster, and this is probably my favorite one. And the one and only Calling from the Darkness. What I noticed early on is that I really wanted to increase these cards. They're very cheap. They kill our own creatures, that's what we want to do. Since most of the times we actually are able to build some pretty scary board states, the fact that if we are able to swing with the XT, swing with the Ignitemon, and both of them survive, we can play the Demonic Disaster to delete the XT, restand the Ignitemon, and then we can play out a Protogismon for free. Because of Anubit, it's got Rush, so we immediately get 2 more damage. And this is super great in the security control matchup if they use a lot of minus security on your Digimon, because then there are just 3 targets for you to delete with the Demonic Disaster to be able to swing again with your other creatures. Deathclaw we play for the interaction, of course, because if our opponent plays a Pomu, we're gonna have a hard time if we can play out our Digimon with effects. And sometimes getting a pesky level 4 blocker out of the way is also pretty good, so it gets easier to actually gain lethal. And if we could, we would have played more copies of Calling from the Darkness, because it has enabled me to do some incredibly silly shit, like deleting a Protogismon with the Calling, bringing back 2 Nidhogg's to hand. On deletion, we'll bring out the Gizmon AT, we'll draw 2, 1, 2, then we just immediately trash both of the Nidhogg's to gain 2 memory, which is just absolutely awful. But the best one is probably taking back the Icemon to hand, immediately proccing a discard effects to play him out again, and he gains Rush for the turn. So what's actually so fun with this deck is that your opponent will look at your board state and think, okay, there's like 1-2 damage incoming, and suddenly you have 4, 5, 6 hits incoming and they're dead. So like I said, every game is going to be unique. Once you look at your hand, you need to formulate a plan on what you need to do to reach the climax of the deck. So let's try something different here. Let's do a scenario where I'm actually forced to use my own kill spells to win the game. So we'll hatch Anubismon. From our hand we'll play Protogismon for his when you will play this card from your hand effect by deleting one of your level 2 Digimon in your breeding area. Reduce the play cost by 2. So we'll delete the Demimera to make him cost 1, choking our opponent. On play, draw 1, discard 1. Let's discard a Tapir Boy. Yeah, big shocker there. Our opponent will choke us right back at 1. We'll draw. Hatch. Patamon. Ignite Mon for 0 draw. Well, if it's gonna be like that, let's just choke them right back again by playing the AT, destroying the Protogeismon to making cost 2, putting our opponent to 1, triggering draw 2, discard 2, 1, 2, AT, Ginkomon. This time our opponent finally relents and puts us to 2, because we can't keep this choking game going forever, you know. So we'll draw for turn. We'll evolve Ignite Mon into Ginkakumon for 2, going to 0, draw. And first blood. Gizu AT goes into our opponent's security for the first damage this turn. Hey, look at that, he survives. Then we'll proceed to play Mist Memory Boost. And I still do feel that the purple Memory Boost is super good in this deck, since sometimes you're just missing one piece of the puzzle to do the entire combo. So being able to search for one specific card in the top 4 is super great. But we do get so much value of getting things into our trash as well. It's actually hard to decide which one I actually want to play. But we'll trash top 2 from our deck. Well, that's sad. We'll draw 1. Now we don't have an XT in our trash, so our opponent will not have a problem of just yeeting the AT away. But even if they decide to actually put us at 1 here, we actually do have a solid shot of actually getting them this turn. So we'll draw for turn. We'll promote Ginkakumon. Let's trash the Mist Memory Boost to gain 2 memory, going to 3. We'll evolve Ginkakumon into Blue Marimon for 3, going to 0, draw. Doing its effect, we'll draw 2. 1, 2. Discard 2, discarding 2 Protogeismons. And let's not forget, since we discarded a card from our hand by using one of our effects, we'll gain 1 memory. But I see why not, let's just go for it. We'll evolve Blue Marimon into Anubismon for 3, going to 2, draw. Doing effect, we'll resurrect the Protogeismon. And since we played a Digimon with an effect, Blue Marimon Ignite Mon will gain us 2 memory, going back to 0. Protogeismon on play, draw 1, discard 1, XT. The boy sure does have rush, so he will choose violence, doing the 2nd damage this turn. And he ain't a big boy. I'm going to declare the fact that he's gonna die in the security, proccing his undulation effect. Proto and A2 to the bottom of our deck. Play out AT for 3, draw 2. Discarding 2, Nidhogs to gain 2 memory, going to 2. Let's keep the pain going. AT will swing into for the 3rd damage this game. And ah shit, he doesn't die this time. So this is going to happen quite a lot actually when you are doing this. Like, you can see in the horizon the fact that you are going to win if they only do die. And therefore we need to play our kill spells here. So I'll play Calling from the Darkness for 1, going to 1, doing its effect, killing the AT, and we'll bring back 2 Nidhogs to our hand. Triggering AT's undulation effect, AT and Proto to the bottom of our deck. Play out XT for 3. We'll swing into our opponent's security. And XT as well refuses to die, so let's just kill him with the Death Claw, which enables us to kill one of our opponent's level 4 lower Digimons, but most importantly, killing the XT, so we can get the Protogeismon back for free. On play, draw, discard, an AT. We'll swing. And now, even if he wouldn't die here, since we were able to get back Nidhogs to hand, we guaranteed halves the fact that even if we were to play a removal card of any kind for 1 cost, we would return the AT to the field, and we can discard once again 2 Nidhogs to gain 2 memory, and then swing for Turbo Game. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. there is a lot of difference to my current build of Anubismon. In my opinion, these mats should not be in here. I think we don't have any space for any tamer by this point. We need Underworld's Call and Nidhogg just to gain that memory and draw those cards while doing all of our effects. And while it would be great to have some extra memory sometimes, I don't know, the meta is so fast, so we really need to just push forward as quickly as possible. Maybe the new mat that you can tap to gain a memory when you discard a card with an effect would be amazing in this deck. But as of right now, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's very necessary. Like the boosts, Nidhoggs, should be enough for the memory gain for you to be able to keep your turn while you do the Anubismon combo. And while I, as normally do in this video, high roll, so I just can't properly show all of the effects off in a timely manner, because if you do not have all of the pieces in hand, the games will be far longer and far more grindier. The biggest weakness of this deck is that it has no protection at all. If you're playing against an aggressive deck, like I played this deck against BT13 Commandermon, it's just impossible. If your opponent's game plan is just to aggressively kill you as fast as possible, Anubismon probably won't have the time to do anything about it. Where Anubismon thrives the most are the mid-range and the more slower matchups, because as long as you give Anubismon enough time to draw the cards he needs to do the combo, he is pretty much unstoppable. Like, even Security Control has a bit of a problem actually dealing with him, since you can get out threats that resurrects themselves and draws cards. Like, they run 4 Chaos Degradation, while we run 12 Digimons that bring themselves back together, so they truly actually prefer Chaos Degrading the Gizumons over the Anubis. But thanks for watching. Remember to leave a like and a subscribe and a comment below. And remember to have a really nice day now. Bye bye!